Hi guys, so today's video is going to be the Midyear Book Freakout Tag. I think like most people, it feels both like so much time has passed and also like I can't believe how much time has passed. It's a movie, right? Of course, everybody has felt everything that's been going on. Things have been chaotic for everyone, so I don't mean to like one up everybody, but I definitely have felt like some of the things going on in the world have been amplified in my household because most of you know at this point I've had to move very quickly because my father has had some health issues, and so it's been 4 times that he's gone to the hospital for a total, if you add up all the days, a month total that he was in the hospital. This is just since the beginning of April. And from one day to the next, things can change very drastically. But I feel I need to say thank you to all of you. I had a video where I basically just ranted and I just got out all my frustrations. You guys were so nice and very kind to me. I also want to say a special thank you to the sponsor of this video, which would be Campfire, because they reached out to me a while back and wanted to work with me, and I had to explain to them a little bit of my situation and say, I'm so sorry, I don't think I can fit your timeline. And they were like, oh, it's no big deal. Just whenever you do it, that's great. Just let us know. And I so appreciated that because I have had to stop teaching my private violin lessons because of the health crisis, but also because I don't think I can even, I can't hardly even find time to film, let alone drive out and teach my students and everything. So to know that they were willing to work with me, it's just nice, you know, it's like a little bit of comfort knowing I can still bring a little bit of change home and not have so much pressure on my husband. On to what Campfire does. They are a tool for writers, and they basically specialize in helping you bring your world and your characters to life. Their tools to do this are so in-depth. You can go as in-depth as you want with your character bios, but also the relationships between characters, kind of the bios of the settings, the places within your world. If you have a castle and you want to write out the history of that castle, you can do that. I think this is especially helpful for fantasy and science fiction writers, although it's helpful for anyone, but especially because so much world building is almost essential for fantasy and sci-fi, that to be able to bring your world to life and visualize it using Campfire's tools, I think is incredibly helpful. They also have a timeline feature, which is fantastic because I know for myself, I love to get things out and not just try to see everything in my head, so I love that they have that feature as well. I will go ahead and have Campfire linked down below for anybody that is interested, but now finally jumping into the tag. First one is the best book you've read so far in 2019. The best book is The Kingdom of Back by Marie Lu. And me, it oh my gosh, it hit me in the gut and the heart and every other place that you can hit somebody emotionally. Most people are aware of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, not realizing that he also had a very, very talented sister who was also a musical prodigy, child prodigy, and she does not get recognized in history often. In certain countries she does, like Austria, but in other parts of the world, a lot of people didn't even know he had a sister. And his sister and him created this magical make-believe world called the Kingdom of Back. It's a real thing, and Marie Lu, when I saw that she was doing this project, I was like, okay, it sounds like it's tailored to me. I majored in music, I play violin, this should be my thing, but I just don't love magical realism, and that whole idea of this make-believe world is kind of the focus of the story. I was proven so wrong. I love it so much. I definitely can see myself going back and rereading it. And you don't have to be somebody who knows very much about music to read this book. There's the occasional mention of an arpeggio or something, but you don't need to know anything. I think a big reason why a lot of people don't love it is the magical realism elements, because this kingdom, she is kind of going into almost like a Narnia-esque world. And it's a child's imagination, so things are very random. And there's some elements to it where you're like, wait, are things happening for real? It feels like things are happening for real. I can't really tell. However, a big theme in the book is the idea that women did not have the freedom to live their lives the way they wanted, no matter how well they behaved, no matter how talented they were, no matter how hard they worked, they just did not have the same opportunities. And you see this character, she loves her brother so much, but then there's also this envy of seeing her younger brother have all these opportunities that she knows she will not continue to have once she reaches womanhood, because for some bizarre reason it was fine for a child who was a girl to be able to be shown off as a musical prodigy, but once they became an adult it was like time to get married and have children. You see these parallels where the Kingdom of Back is this escape where she can just be happy and free, but then it gets a lot darker as she gets older, and there's all these elements of symbolism that I just ate up. And I think if you go into it and you don't really, maybe you don't interpret those things the same way I did, you're gonna be like, that magical world was dumb, but I just thought it was perfect. It was so good. The next question is the best sequel that you've read this year. I've actually been very pleased with a lot of the sequels I've picked up, so I wrote a few. I'm just gonna list them off. We have Vengeful by V. Schwab, which is the sequel to Vicious. A lot of people didn't seem to like that one as much as the first, but I loved it. In fact, I may have liked it more than the first one, so apparently I'm the outlier on that. Ember Queen, which is the conclusion to the Ash Princess trilogy, Night of the Dragon, which is the conclusion to the Shadow of the Fox trilogy, and then also Heart of Flames, which is the second book in, I guess it's just the Crown of Feathers. Do we not give series names anymore? The next question says, a new release you haven't read yet, but want to. There are so many books that I want to read that I haven't gotten around to yet. One of them in particular is one that I picked up and then I just did not have the time to keep going with it, so I guess I technically DNF'd it. But I didn't DNF it because I wasn't liking it. I barely started it, but it had a promising start. It's called Woven in Moonlight. It's Bolivian inspired. The next question is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Freaking Rhythm of War. I feel like that goes without saying. And if any of you are also really excited for Rhythm of War, I have a predictions video. So I kind of shared some of your predictions and then some of my predictions, and it was a lot of fun to see your predictions. And you can still, if you comment on that video, I'm still gonna have fun seeing your predictions, even though that video came out a little bit ago. Also, if you need a refresher for what happens in the first 3 books, I have a recap video, and it has a lot of memes, and it was a lot of fun. The next question is biggest disappointment. I've had a few of those. I'm going to start with one that I haven't talked about yet, because I feel like when I mention the other ones, it's just going to feel like I'm continuing to hate on them because I've already mentioned them numerous times as being kind of disappointing for me. But one that I haven't had the chance to film a review for yet would be King of Scars. I was really disappointed in King of Scars. The first half of that book, it is a continuation within the Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo. So the first half of the book, I was like, ooh, I think this might be my favorite book in the Grishaverse so far. I was so into it. And then the second half, the way the first half ended, I was like, uh-oh, I don't know if I'm liking the direction this is going. And then it continued to go in a direction I did not like. It was primarily due to plot points. So it's not because the writing was atrocious or something. It was just, I really didn't like where the plot went, but that will be discussed later. The other ones, which I've already talked about in reviews for, so I'm not gonna hate on them or anything right now, but Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson. There was also Uprooted. I really didn't care for that story. And then there's the one by Sebastian de Castell. Oh my gosh, what the heck is the name of that book? Traitor's Blade. That was one that I started and I was like, oh, this is cheeky and this is fun. And then that one just, the more it went, the more I was like, nah, this isn't it. And then Lies of Lockelmora. So many fantasy. It's like one of the highest ranked on Goodreads fantasy books. It's on almost every list of the greatest fantasy of all time. And I just don't agree. Next question is the biggest surprise. I definitely think Kingdom of Back, because that was one I went into where I was like, I don't think I'm really gonna like this, and then I loved it. The next one is favorite new author. It can be debut or new to you. I'm just gonna have to go with Marie Lu on this one because I plan on reading anything pretty much that she puts out from now on. Maybe I won't like it, but I'm still gonna give it a try because I loved Kingdom of Back so much. The next question is newest fictional crush. I had to really think about this one because I feel like I haven't crushed on anybody in any book recently. I guess there's a character in Dead House Gates that I was like, I like this guy. And then that's all I'll say because I don't want to spoil anything. But yeah, I guess I I guess one of the guys in Dead House Gates. The next one is newest favorite characters. I'm gonna have to go with Harper from A Curse so Dark and Lonely, which has been another one that I really enjoyed. And I feel like I haven't had the chance to sing its praises enough in this tag. I really liked that story, but I think a lot of other people have already illustrated how much they liked it. But anyway, yes, I loved Harper, and I did a whole video dedicated to Harper appreciation. And then Jo from The Downstairs Girl. She is living in a time period, she's Chinese, living in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's a time period where women don't have a lot of rights, a lot of minorities don't have a lot of rights, and she's Chinese and she's a woman, so she doesn't have a lot of rights. But I feel like she's so witty and so clever and so hopeful, and the story is, she's finding her voice within a world where she's not really allowed to have one through some interesting circumstances, and it hits on a lot of really heavy themes without becoming really very heavy, so I don't think it's going to be as emotionally impactful as maybe some people would want for a story that tackles those themes, but I think it is a good story if you're wanting something happy and cheeky. Even though it is talking about these sad things, I do think that Jo is just so delightful that she won my heart. The next question is a book that made you cry. I have yet to ever cry having read a book. There are definitely some books that were pretty close. So I already mentioned the conclusion to the Ash Princess series, Ember Queen. That one pretty close because of some stuff at the end that was a little emotional. Same with Night of the Dragon, the last book in... I mean, if you can do a good end to a series and there's emotional things, high stakes, chances are it's gonna be emotional, right? You've been following these characters. Kingdom of Back, just because I'm like, she deserves to be remembered the way her brother was remembered, and like just being dumb and emotional over that. But then Queens of Ennis Lear. The more time I spend away from that story, the more I love it. It is boring. It's super boring, but it's so beautiful. It's a King Lear retelling, follows these three sisters, one of which is kind of taking care of her aging father, just very relatable for me. And then the other two are like, I think dad had something to do with mom's death. There's so much familial drama. There's so many big themes tackled in very nuanced ways. The next question is a book that made you happy. I think The Downstairs Girl, that one definitely made me happy. And then Geekerella. It was a light, fluffy book that my husband and I both picked up around Valentine's Day because we're like, let's read something fluffy for Valentine's Day. And it was cutesy. It was exactly what I was expecting, although it did get a little bit more deep than I was expecting in a couple places. But overall, it was just fluffy. It's just a book that you're like, that was nice. The next question is the most beautiful book you've bought this year. Probably The Queens of Ennis Lear. The edition I have is stunning. And then the last question is, what is a book that you have to get to before the end of the year? I have a ton. I'm doing buddy reads every month that I'm behind on, and so I need to get around to those. That's it for the Midyear Book Freakout Tag. I will have any book reviews or any other videos relating to the books I talked about linked down below. Check out Campfire if you're interested, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.